What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Please like, subscribe, leave me a comment, say hello. I just wanted to get on here really quick because I'm having like a fabulous hair day, as you all can see. And so I thought, why waste this opportunity to get in front of a camera, and broadcast myself to the world? So this is what I want to talk about today. Let's just jump into this. What do I want to call this video? I want to call this video, You Don't Really Exist. And you don't really exist / there is no time except no time. Does that make sense? Okay, so what I mean when I say you don't really exist is that who you are today, let's say you woke up today and you looked at yourself in the mirror and you're like, yep, there's Steve. And Steve is looking back at you. What you're actually looking at is the result of yesterday and the day before that and the day before that and the day before that and the moment before that. It's like building blocks stacked on top of each other. That's what you're looking at. You're not looking at who you are in the actual present. And you're not even really, we all know this, that we're mostly empty space. You have an atom, and I think the ratio of, what's the ratio between the space between an atom and electron? It's like an atom, I heard this recently, it's imagine an atom is to be the size of a Volkswagen Beetle, okay? So that's your little atom. That's one atom of you, of Steve. And then the electron is the size of a pea in comparison to the atom. And the space between the atom and the electron with this scale is about the size of Utah. Okay, so there's an enormous amount of space. And that is true for every single one of your atoms. So you are mostly empty space. And empty, is it empty? Whatever. But so you're looking at Steve, and Steve, yeah, you're mostly not there. You're mostly not Steve. And Steve, the way that he constructs himself, he wakes up and to reacquaint himself with himself and be right. Who am I? To orient himself, he goes into the past. And he thinks about, and he looks for what's familiar. So, and most of the time we do this immediately. But those moments when you wake up, they can be rare. When you wake up and suddenly you have no idea where you are. And usually it's if we're traveling. So I actually think that in those moments when we wake up and we have no idea of where we are and where we just came from, that's actually more real, true to what is happening than all the other days when we wake up and we don't even think about it and we're oh yeah, bed, apartment, whatever. And we're going through those motions, and we're going through those motions based on what we know to already exist, which is back there in the past, okay? But the past doesn't really exist. And the reason you can see it doesn't really exist is because, where is it? Where is it? In so many ways, the past is the exact same as the future because it's not here. So it's completely, it's gone. And in a lot of ways, fictionalized. I think when people remember something, they're actually creating it in that moment. People don't realize this. When you're talking or recounting something, you're not actually going back there and dragging something. You're creating it fresh in that moment. So you're taking this thing that you vaguely remember and then making it the present. And the reason that we do that, I don't know why we do that actually, but apparently the reason that we do that is because basically human beings are control freaks. And we always want to know what's going to happen next. And a way for us to know what's going to happen next, again, like the way that we orient ourselves and go, okay, who's Steve? Is we look at what we recall happening. So we go, oh yeah, what was yesterday? Okay, so like that feels pretty firm because that happened. And I have some material results of that. So let me just take that, create it today so that tomorrow it will be there again. And that's how we run our lives. Okay. The curious thing about this is I'm like, oh, if the past is basically like just as fictional as the future, why do we spend so much time talking about the past? Why is that I guess I just explained it, but it seems to me then that we could spend just as much time talking hypotheticals or talking about the future or talking fantasy as we do about the past. And yet that's not how most people converse. You know, most of the time a conversation goes like, so what did you do today? Or how was your summer? Or what did you learn at school? I don't know. It's like, it's all past tense. And so we're like dragging that up and perpetuating it when we could just as easily be having so much more fun and be using so much more of our imaginations, engaging in conversations that are projected out into the future and maybe potentially creating something new. But most of the time we don't do that. And I think it's because we have a fear. So again, we have like a fear of the unknown because we want to feel safe and secure. And at least for me, I feel like maybe this is more modern, but like we have a fear of not being seen as realistic or not being seen as like grounded and present and like focused on the here and now, which is very ironic because talking about the past is not being here and now. So if we're gonna like not be here, we might as well be here in any parallel reality that we so choose. What actually exists here and now is nothing. Like you can't hold on to a moment. This, probably a lot of you at least know who Eckhart Tolle is or have read his books. And if you don't, he's a little man. I don't think his name is actually Eckhart Tolle. Maybe I'll do this is his real name. I would say his greatest message to the world, he's awakened, he's woke. He talks very, very slowly. And his message to the world is to be here now. And he has this story about, I think he was in university. He's obviously very smart, and he was having this crisis because he had just been like depressed and anxious all his life. And finally it's like, I think it's like 2 a.m. This is how I heard the story. And he's desperate and he's thinking, I can't live with myself anymore. And then something else clues in and he thinks, who is the me who can't live with myself anymore? And if I'm 2 people, which one am I? And then his whole sense of reality just blew open and he had an awakening. And I believe spent the next 2 years living on a park bench in Vancouver. And then started spreading the word to be here now. So when I first read this, I remember being very deeply entranced with the idea. And it was like, yes, just be here, be present, notice everything. And it is really fun to do that because suddenly you're like, ooh, there's so much to see, there's so much to do. But where I'm at right now is I actually think being here now is being nowhere in no time. Like the truth of our existence is that we actually don't exist in time. And we don't actually exist. So to really be present is to be present in a way to nothing. Because it's like like try to hold on to it. It's constantly, constantly, constantly changing. And so the only way to actually be present is to like, you know, it's that thing of like ride the wave, like be with the flow. Being with the flow is the only way to actually be with life. So the only way to really be with life is to be nothing and no one. And I think, yeah, talking about flow, I think that's also like the only real source of creativity. And it's the only place where we actually are like free and powerful and capable. It's when we stop trying to be a someone. And you can look at like, you can look at this in creativity, obviously. You can even look at this in a conversation. You know, like when you're having a conversation with someone and you don't really care what the conversation is, it's fabulous. That's when it really works. When you're like on a date or something, that's when it really works. When you don't know what the next moment's going to be, because you don't know what the next moment's going to be. It's only like when you insert it or when you're trying to insert it, that then everything starts to get dense and really difficult. And it's because we're actually going against the nature of life and ourselves. So I don't know what to do with this information. What would I advise you to do with this information? Just, I guess, be aware of when you're trying to go back into the past and insert that future for yourself or that present for yourself. And the next time you're like griping about something, some quality you don't like about yourself, you know, it's not actually here. You're at zero every single moment. And anytime you talk about it, or anytime you relate to yourself in a certain way, or you talk about yourself, or you relate to others in a certain way, you're creating that quality, that trauma, that complaint, that whatever, new in that moment. From zero, you go, hey, let's have more of this. So anything you don't actually want in your life, you have to stop creating it. And the best way to do that is to create something new or be aware of something new. So that's all. Hey, okay. I feel like I've had a lot of coffee because I might have been talking very quickly in that video, but maybe not. It's my sister's birthday tomorrow, so happy birthday, Leah. And to all of you, I love you. Stay sane, stay well, and I'll see ya next time. Bye.